Hey folks, welcome back to the farm. We finally got a touch of winter here in Nebraska. It's like 0 degrees right now. We had some snow flurries overnight. So it's a good day to stay indoors and get some stuff done in here. Maybe cook some meals for the next few days. And I've got some stuff to do downstairs as well. So stick around. We'll have a little cold day celebration here at the farm. You can see what little bit of snow we got out here. Not too much, nothing that we have to shovel for or anything like that. So let's go down into the basement. We have to hang that salami that we put down here to air dry. We've already got a start on it. We've got 3 more little chubs to wrap. I weighed these. They're down to about 10 ounces. We need to lose about 2 more ounces before they're done. Remember, we started with 1 pound chubs, so we want to lose 50% of the moisture. You can see there's no mold or anything on them. They're just drying real nicely. So we have this sausage wrap that we're using, and we'll show you an easy way to use it. So we've got our piece of netting that we have here. This is still a little black pepper down here. So we're going to use our flexible cutting board to help stuff our sausage into that tube. So you roll up your cutting board, put your netting over the top of it, slide your sausage down through there, and then pull that cutting board out. You got it perfectly wrapped. You can see the couple we did here without doing this process before I figured it out. A little uneven, but it'll work either way. There you go, and we'll just hang this up. Now, if you don't want to purchase this netting, they make it in all different sizes. They make it even big enough to put whole roasts in, and it's really handy. It's a lot easier to tie. You can just use some cotton string, like I keep here in our little Tupperware bucket, pulls out of the center, and just do some strategically placed half hitches around both sides, and you can hang it that way. Another thing you can use is, remember the tube gauze that they used to use for injuries, like for holding gauze and stuff around your arm or your finger or your foot. You can get some of that tube gauze. It does the same thing. Okay, we got all our salamis hung up, and they've long since stopped dripping, so we can take our sheet pans back upstairs and get those washed and put away. All right, back to our cold day celebration. So what we're going to make is a roasted pumpkin soup. It sounds yummy today. So we've got some of our pumpkins from down in the root cellar. You can use anything you want for this recipe. Pumpkins, acorn squash, butternut squash, yams, sweet potatoes, whatever. We're incorporating some carrots to give us a little bit more sweetness to our soup. If you're using yams or sweet potatoes, you probably could eliminate the carrots. But we're going to poke a little hole in these pumpkins so it'll vent the steam out. And then these are going to go in the 400-degree oven for 60 minutes. Now I'm doing a second dish besides the roasted pumpkin soup. I'm going to make homemade Runza today, which I've made for you before, but we're going to get the filling started for that. Got 2 pounds of our good Nebraska ground beef here. We're going to get that going. While the beef gets going, I've got this little tiny head of cabbage I got at the store, probably a 1-pounder. I imagine it was a big one to start with, but as they start going bad at the store, they just keep peeling leaves off and then wrap it back up. I'm going to chop this up kind of like in a 1-inch kind of chop. There we go. We just chopped it in 2 directions. The good Lord chopped it in the other direction for you. We're also going to chop 1 small white or yellow onion and dump that right in our bowl with our cabbage. Now, if you're new to the channel and never heard of Runza, it's kind of a Nebraska thing. It's like a Hot Pocket, and they have fast food stores that sell these things. I think they were originally brought here by the Germans. They were called Biroks. Every nationality has their meat pocket. Just depends on what they call it. Okay, our ground beef is thawed out and brown. We're going to go ahead and add our cabbage and our onions while there's still a little liquid in there. And that'll help cook it all down. Okay, our pumpkins are done. And our carrots, so we'll turn the oven off. And then you can see our cabbage and onions and everything is cooking down. That's going to go a little bit longer. Then we'll start seasoning this. Everything's cooked down pretty good, but we're going to let it cook down a little more. But we're going to start adding some spice. We'll put some salt in there. And then we're going to go with a little bit of our fresh thyme from the garden. Well, it's dried, but it's from our garden. We're going to add about 2 teaspoons of that. We have about a half a teaspoon of black pepper. We're going to just dump all that in. We're going to add about 6 cloves worth of our garlic. And our secret ingredient, about a tablespoon of our Madras curry powder. If you've seen the channel, you know this isn't your standard curry powder that you buy at the store. This stuff is fantastic. I get it on Amazon. Now we're going to give it a taste. Perfect. So off goes the heat. We're going to let this cool to almost room temperature. Meanwhile, we've got our carrots and our pumpkin out of the oven. The carrots aren't quite tender yet, so I'm going to chop those up. And I'm going to cook those in some of our water that we're going to use for our soup to tender those up even more. Cut our carrots in a half a gallon or 2 quarts of water. We're going to bring that up to a boil, let it simmer until those carrots are just kind of beyond fork tender, just really, really tender. Just take your knife, go right around that stem, just falling apart, perfect. Pull that stem out, we'll get those seeds out. All of our seeds scooped out of our pumpkin. Now we can scoop the flesh right out of the skin. All of our beautiful pumpkin flesh is in there. All we have left is our little skins. We've got 3 more pumpkins to do. Now you may be asking yourself, I wonder how long a pumpkin will last. Well, just to tell you how long these have lasted, we harvested these, well, took them out of the garden October 5th. It is now January 23rd. So they've been down in the root cellar. Don't wash them. Just washed the garden dirt off of these this morning before I put them in the oven. So just dry them out. Don't wash them. Don't do anything. Just put them in a cool, dry place. And they'll last a good long time. You're probably used to your Halloween pumpkins rotting right away. Well, that's because you've cut into them. As long as that skin stays solid, they'll last a good long time, just like winter squash. In the right environment, some of this stuff will last clear to your next growing season. So our carrots are simmering away. There's all of our pumpkin from our 4 pie-sized pumpkins there. And then we've chopped another onion. We're going to saute that in a little bit of olive oil. Our carrots are now fork tender, so I turned the fire off. We're going to mash those up. Our onions are getting a little bit of color. They're sweetening up because we don't want that raw bite to them. We don't have to go crazy with this process. Just make some smaller pieces. Now that we've got our carrots halfway mashed there, we're going to go ahead and add our pumpkin to the party. This is right at 4 pounds of cooked pumpkin. And that would be 64 ounces if you're buying the canned stuff. We've added about 2 cloves worth of our minced garlic or our jarlic. We just want to wake that garlic up. We don't want to really brown it, and then we'll throw it in the pot with our pumpkin and carrots. Okay, our onions and garlic are in the mix. I went down to the freezer and got a half-cup brick of our soup base. If you remember, this is really like concentrated, like chicken stock. It's almost gelatinized. It's so thick. So to that, we're going to add like 2 cups of water as well. Got our soup base in that warm water. So I've got about 2 teaspoons of our dry thyme. And to me, thyme really is what makes this dish. Can't live without it. We're going to go with about a teaspoon of salt and about a half a teaspoon of black pepper and some more of our secret ingredient, that Madras curry powder. We're only going with about a teaspoon of our curry powder in our soup. Now we're adding a whole 13-ounce can that used to be 16-ounce can of coconut milk. You'll find there's kind of 2 different styles of coconut milk. There's the thick type, and then there's the kind of liquidy type. You can tell by shaking the can. You can use either one in this dish. If you use the thick type, you're just going to have to probably add some more water. You can see how thick that is. Looks almost like sour cream, even a little thicker. Add a little bit of coconut water in the bottom. So we'll stir all that in. All right, ended up adding another 2 cups of water, so a total of 1 quart of water. And then we're going to give it a stir with our stick mixer here till it's nice and smooth. All right, we have it all pureed. We need to bring this back up to temperature. That's why you want to make sure you have this in a really heavy bottom pot. Because remember, the coconut milk we put in there was cold. The pumpkin we put in there was cold. So this isn't even hot anymore. So before you judge the consistency of it, heat it up first. And then if you need it a little bit thinner, you add a little more stock until it's the consistency that you want. Now, if you go to some 5-star restaurant, they'll actually run this through a fine metal sieve because they do not want any texture in it at all. They want it completely smooth. But this is not a 5-star restaurant, and we don't mind doing things a little rustic here on the farm, so we're going to forego that step. So let's heat this up. So while we're waiting for our soup to come up to temp, we're going to go ahead and start our dough for our runzas. Traditionally, I would use our Portuguese Sweet Bread dough for this, but today I'm going to use our focaccia dough recipe. It goes a lot faster, so let's get it going. We're going to start with 2½ cups of flour, 4 tablespoons or a 1/4 cup of sugar, 4½ teaspoons of yeast, or 2 packages. Make sure you check the date on your yeast. We keep ours in the fridge. We need 1½ teaspoons of salt, we're going to give all of our dry ingredients a stir, and then we're going to add 2 cups of lukewarm water. And that's going to be a really loose dough that we can stir pretty vigorously. And then we'll add the rest of the flour. Make sure your water's not over about 120 degrees or you'll kill your yeast. There we go. We'll get that stirred up vigorously. Before we get too far, we want to put 2 tablespoons of olive oil in there as well. Now you want to stir this vigorously until it gets some elasticity. And you can see how it's starting to get elastic there. We've developed the gluten a little bit. So once it gets that elasticity to it, we can go ahead and add the rest of our flour. And right around another 2½ cups. But if you know how to make bread, you'll know where to stop when it starts kind of cleaning the sides of the bowl and just barely sticks to the bowl. We'll add our flour in a cup at a time. Okay, there's our second cup. Okay, it got too stiff for the spoon, so now we're in there with our hands. I just added that other half a cup of flour. We'll see if this is enough. Okay, there's our dough. It just started picking stuff up off the bottom, so we're good. If you kept kneading it, it'd still be a little tacky, but we're going to stop right there because when we roll it out, we're going to be using flour, so just don't get it too dry. Okay, we're going to let this dough rest for about 10 minutes covered up with a towel. And while we do that, we're going to go cut the cheese. No, we really got cheese. What were you thinking? So I think we're going to make about 16 Runza. So we'll cut this cheese into 16 pieces. All you got to do is just keep cutting in half until you get 16. There's our 16 pieces of cheese. I like using extra sharp cheddar. That way the cheese holds up to the filling. And this was 8 ounces of cheese, an 8-ounce block. Here's our soup. It started to simmer. So it all depends on, how you like it. I could literally eat it just like this, but I think we're going to thin it out just a little bit with a little more stock. And then this is pretty much ready to eat. We'll just have to keep it warm. I did add another teaspoon of salt because it tasted like it needed just a little more salt. Okay, our dough is rested. We're going to do the same thing with our dough as we did with the cheese. We'll put it here on the counter. We'll use our knife. We'll just keep cutting it in half until we get 16 pieces. Okay, there's our 16 pieces. We'll go ahead and roll all those into a ball. There's our 16 dough balls. So now we can start rolling and making our Runza. So we rolled that out into about 8-inch diameter flat disc. It's about the thickness of a tortilla right now, but it will puff up. You don't want to go too thick because then all you're eating is bread. So you start out with a piece of your cheese. Then we added a half a cup of our mixture. We'll move it out a little bit. We'll get a little bowl of water. We'll wet half of our edge here and then fold that over. Got our Runza folded over. So now we're going to wet this edge again, and then we're going to take little pieces and just fold over all the way around and crimp this. There we go. Now that goes on our cookie sheet with parchment. Got one pan of our Runzas done. We're going to sprinkle a little bit of mozzarella cheese on these for some decorations. And then I'm going to take some of our olive oil spray and just give it a light spray on top. And then we're going to go in our 350-degree oven for right around 15-20 minutes. All right, in the oven we go. Our first batch just came out. Aren't those gorgeous? Our second batch is ready to go in. It took right at 20 minutes. Now we have another dilemma. We are out of filling, and we have 4 more dough balls. So what I'm going to do, rather than waste those, we're going to make some pizza pockets. So these last 4 are going to be pepperoni and mushroom. Got our pizza pockets all ready. What I'm going to do so we can tell these apart, instead of putting olive oil spray on these, I'm going to brush a little pizza sauce on top and then sprinkle the cheese so these will be a different color. Last batch going in. Alright, we're warming our soup back up. I put 2 more cups of stock in here, and then we had to adjust the seasonings, of course. You want to do that anytime. Added another teaspoon of salt. I also added a teaspoon of garlic salt because I thought I needed it, and about a half a teaspoon of black pepper, so our spices are spot on. Also, what I did is I made an extra big batch of this because Kelly wants to freeze dry some, so I pulled half of it out. I put the same amount of seasonings in here, but I didn't put the 2 cups of stock because we're going to freeze dry this, so we're going to have to rehydrate it anyway. So no sense putting water in just to take it out. So our soup's just about up to a simmer. Our last batch of pizza pocket Runzas are in the oven. Well, there is soup in a sandwich, Nebraska style, on our cold day celebration here. We're going to tear into this. cannot beat homemade Runza, I tell you what. Phenomenal. How about this? That's good too. All right, there's all our handiwork. Pizza pockets came out of the oven. We're going to be eating this stuff over the next 4 or 5 days or so. I have plenty. Not for you guys though. A little bit of the snow stuck out here. Not very much. Won't take long to clean the driveway off, but beautiful. Glad winter finally showed up. So we're going to cuddle up on this cozy Nebraska evening. First real evening if we have of winter. Kind of nice. Kelly's been wanting the snow. So hope you enjoyed the video. And we're going to go relax a little bit. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. Love you guys. Come back and see us here on the farm.
Thanks for watching.